thanks so much for staying with us. And we appreciate you getting up early on a Saturday morning. But, it isn't supposed to rain today, so there is a lot to get done. So you need to be out in your gardens, working in your gardens. We've had so much rain, so it's going to be very easy to weed. But this is a great time after you get your weeding done this morning to put down some Bull Country compost in the garden as a top dressing. This works really, really well. And it also is going to help control the weeds in your garden. So we're talking to Tim today with Bull Country Compost, and he is giving us some background and telling us more about what we can use Bull Country Compost. So besides the things that like I have been doing, are other of your dealers recommending other things to do with Bull Country Compost besides this?
Well, I mean, the main topics for using it are a soil amendment and also a mulch product.
Right.
Whereas if you use it as a mulch product, you don't need to put it down as nearly as thick as bark mulch if you use bark mulch. Some other things that some of my other wholesalers do on a bulk basis, they are mixing Bull Country compost with bark mulch.
Really?
That way, some people like the coarse look of the bark mulch.
Mm-hmm.
So it still gives you the coarse look of the bark mulch, but yet when you add the Bull Country to it, then you still get the nutrient value and the plant feeding value to feed the plants. Mm-hmm. So there is that aspect. I mean, that's just done on a per customer basis on some of my other locations.
Right. Well, we always recommend to people that they should fertilize their trees and shrubs in the spring and in the fall, unless they're using Bull Country compost as their mulch, because then they don't need to do that extra fertilization step. They put it down in the spring as their mulch, and then it's feeding continually the whole season. And it works out great. And then I also tell folks that if, I have a lot of customers, they mulch their beds with wood, bark mulch every year, and I'm glad they do that. I sell that also. But around their flowers, it's too coarse. Their flowers, their annual flowers, and some perennials do not flourish with bark mulch pushed too close up to it. And Bull Country compost, this is the thing to do, because you don't have that coarseness of that bark mulch. And so right up against the flowers, it's, again, fertilizing them, feeding them the whole season. Plus, it just lets them just flourish. And we've really noticed that works out well.
Well, and the other thing with that bark mulch also is, depending on how old it is, too, it can be a little bit acidic.
Mm-hmm.
And any wood product requires nitrogen to break down.
Right.
And there's been studies done that you put bark mulch on the ground and it will draw the nitrogen right back out of the ground, and it has a stronger draw than your flowers do. So it will rob the nitrogen right away from your plants. So adding the compost to the mulch, if you do it that way also,
it's putting it back in.
It's stabilizing the mulch.
Right.
And then the flowers can still have plenty of
nutrients. Sort of like when people put all of their dead leaves in the fall into their compost pile, and they're not decomposing because they didn't have enough green in there to help that decomposition take place. And, 2 years later, they're like, all my leaves are still in there. And sort of the same thing. They pull the nitrogen just like the wood mulch is going to also. Any other things about the Bull Country? And then, what made you come up with Hayseed Hank? I mean, you're just an innovative guy and decided that that you needed to do the Hayseed Hank, because, at first I was like, super soil in bags. We sell topsoil in bags, just straight topsoil. And then I was like, how is this going to be? But man, it has been amazing for us to have, I think, that raised bed thing. People started going to raised beds, and the Hayseed Hank just fit that bill of everything. Everybody wants convenience.
And that's kind of why I went to the Hayseed Hank, because that was the big draw, was all these raised beds.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to come up with a product people were trying to use bull country, but it's just a little too rich to plant directly into.
Yep.
And then people were, if they had to go out and find topsoil on their own, they was having a hard time doing it. So that's why we got into doing the hayseed hank, was for the raised beds. And of course, once you have the operation to do the bagging, it's just,
right.
Might as well bag it too.
Right,
So.
might as well bag it too. It has been amazing because, that the raised beds are so popular today. And everybody wants convenient. They don't want to have to mix the topsoil, mix the compost, mix the other amendments all in, do all the stirring and getting all that mixed up. And they're never going to have that consistency that you have, because you have that barrel screener that mixes it all together so well for them. The average homeowner doesn't have one of those, Tim, in their backyard like you do.
Right. And when you're dealing with 5 different products to mix together to make it, I mean, it helps to have a complete homogeneous mix. That way it's all consistent. So.
Yeah. There's nothing not mixed properly in those bags. Everything is always mixed very consistently. So you take those bags, dump it right into your raised bed area, and you're ready to plant.
Yep.
It's all right there. And what about the bagging? What kind of bags do you use? Are they biodegradable bags? Are they completely sealed so that the product can be stored outside? How are you doing those?
Actually, as of biodegradable, they are not biodegradable, but they are recyclable. Just like any plastic. The bags are not sealed because both products need to be able to breathe. So there are air holes in the bags.
Air holes in them, right. So even though, this is why I asked that, because even though they stayed on there, they're 40 pounds. They're 40 pounds of dry mix.
Right.
So when it's stored outside and it gets damp, it's going to weigh a little bit more than 40 pounds.
Yeah, because of those air holes in the bag, unfortunately it lets it breathe, but water also can
moisture can also get in. So. Right, exactly. So a lot of people ask me, well, how many bags of this am I going to need? And so is there an approximate cubic footage in each bag?
The compost is pretty close to 2 cubic feet
2 cubic
per
feet.
bag.
That's what I always guessed too. I was always thinking that. And is hayseed hank about a 1.5 cubic foot?
I'm thinking that's probably, I never really did the measurements on it, but that's pretty much where it should be.
That's what I was thinking, because when I am helping someone decide how many bags they're needing, that's usually what I go with, because I have had some other bags that were about that same size, and that's how I came up with that. And so that's how we figure it up, how big their beds are, how thick they need to put it in their beds. That's usually how. So I was going to ask you if that was about right where we were at on that.
Yep.
So if someone is not in... Now, I want everyone to come to Anthony Petitti Organic Greenhouse and buy Bull Country Compost, of course. But not all of our listeners are in the Stark County area. And we have a lot of listeners in Tuscarawas County, in Holmes County, even some in Wayne County. So go ahead and give our listeners a few of, if you can remember, some of your dealers that are in those other areas. Like I know Mount Eaton Greenhouse sells your product. I see it when I'm on my way down to Yoder's Produce to pick up supplies.
Yes.
So I know they sell it, and that's
That would be Wayne County.
That's still Wayne. That's what I was thinking. They were right at the edge of Wayne County.
Yep.
But so where are some of the other places that folks that, might not be close to us that might have it so that they could get some of this product? This is an amazing product. Fredericksburg Greenhouse.
That would be Wayne County also.
That's Wayne County also. I was trying to think of one in Holmes County.
Well, Holmes County Country Corners Greenhouse.
Country Corners, okay. All right. And then what about Tuscarawas County?
Tuscarawas County, that one I've got covered pretty good with Stutzman's Lawn and Landscape, their garden center, Hillcrest Garden Center.
Hillcrest,
Schönbrunn Garden Center.
Oh, great. So there's a lot of retail establishments that our listeners could go to and find Bull Country Compost.
Yeah, because, those are only a few. I mean, we're covering all of northeastern Ohio all the way to Cleveland. So, if somebody knows somebody else that's a little further away, I mean, there's other areas to look into
Right.
to look for it.
Exactly. Are all of your dealers listed on your website?
They are supposed to be, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I know the whole website thing is tough. I battle with that myself.
It's hard to keep it updated all the time.
I know. We're so busy running our businesses. It's hard to keep the website updated, and then to hire someone to do that. For a small business person, we just can't afford to do that. So
no, not quite.
I know, exactly. That's why we need our kids to help us with those kind of things.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I know. I try to have Miranda help me with mine all the time. And she's like, Mom, you've got to learn to do this yourself. I'm like, I'm old. I can't do this stuff. This is too much for me. So, Tim, we really appreciate you being here with us today. If someone needs to give you a call at Bull Country to find something out specifically, if we don't have the answers, or if they're looking, maybe we have someone today listening and they are in another area and they don't see it on the website, is there a telephone number that they can call and ask questions directly to Bull Country Compost?
Yeah, they could call the business line, which would be 330-852-4399. You won't get me personally, but you will get a live operator, and they'll send a message on to me, and I can get back to you.
Right.
Other than that, too, you could also email us at bullcountrycompost@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. So if you have questions, you can always if I can't answer them, please call us at 330-455-5997. Hopefully we can answer you. But if not, emailing Tim at bullcountrycompost@gmail.com. He can always answer your questions too. Well, Tim, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for sponsoring the show too. It's going to be a lot of fun. And thanks so much for, taking that leap of faith and producing Bull Country Compost. I'm sure as a young person out of college, you were like, oh, I really hope this really works. I'm sure that you were worried about your dad, approving of all of this. And look what an amazing blessing this has been to so many people. Bull Country Compost is just one of those things that I don't know exactly what I would sell in place of it. I really don't, because it's the only compost product that we sell besides lobster compost, and that is definitely not for everyone.
Right.
It's just for specific growers that need specific things. Bull Country Compost is just a wonderful product. So thanks for producing it. Thanks for letting all of us sell it, and thanks so much for being here on the show with us.
Well, thanks for having me, and yes, it was very stressful to get
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, thanks all of you for listening to the show today. We appreciate you being here. We'll be back here with you next week at 8 a.m. right here on 95.9 The Light, and we will also have a guest with us next week from Habitat for Humanity. Thanks so much, and have a blessed week.